Thank you for participating. We would like to have another caller. Hello?
Hello.
Tell us your name and what school do you represent?
My name is Natalie Belly, and I represent Oak Grove Elementary.
And what grade are you in?
Third.
Yes, that's very good. Now tell me something. Would you like to look at the map of history that we have over here? And I'll tell you where did the whole story of ballet started. Okay, if we look over here, okay, let me see if we could put it on the camera. We have a map of Europe, okay? I want you to pay close attention because there are some countries particularly involved in the history of ballet. The first country we're going to be looking at, can you tell me which one it is? Do you recognize this country over here?
No.
Okay, this is Italy, okay? And this is where the whole story began, okay? From Italy, it moves on to this other country. Do you recognize this one?
Europe?
Oh, Europe is the whole continent. You are right there. This is the country of France. France was also involved in the history of ballet. This other country over here is England. England also had a little bit to do with it. It also contributed to the story of ballet. And the last place is Russia. Russia also contributed to the history of ballet. Okay? Now stay with me because I am going to take you back to Italy. All right? And this is Italy, where it all got started. All right? Would you like to look at the chart that we have over here? And if you see the chart, can you read number 1?
Renaissance?
Renaissance, that is right. Okay. So Renaissance is a period of history that a lot of things took place in Europe during the Renaissance. There was a lot of growth with the arts and the science, and all kinds of changes were happening. It was a wonderful period in history. And it is during the Renaissance time that ballet is born. Now, back at the time, the rich and the noble people had no need to go to do regular working hours, so they had a lot of time for entertainment. Part of their entertainment was music, it was dancing, it was acting and poetry. So they developed a form of music and dancing type of thing that they began to call ballet. It comes from the Italian ballare, which means to dance. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did you have any idea that the word ballet came from the Italian?
It came from them because ballet, it came from Italy. So people that come from Italy are sometimes Italian.
People who come from Italy are Italians always. Yes, and the word ballare, the Italian word, that's the one where ballet came from. Thank you for participating, sweetheart. Can I have another caller, please? Hello?
Hi.
What is your name and what school do you represent?
My name is Gabby Olivares, and my school is Indian Trace.
And what grade are you in?
Third.
Okay. Now, the first ballet that was ever performed in one of these noble palaces was by Bergoglio di Boda, okay? It was called Jason and the Golden Fleece. We have no pictures of that one, but the first one that we have a picture of, it belongs to Catherine de Medici. Let me show you the picture. Can you see it here? Okay. Do you see the picture? It is a little bit different looking than the way the theaters look now. This takes place inside the palace of the rich people. This is supposed to be like the backstage. This is supposed to be where the people are sitting. You see them on the sides. It's a little bit different from our theaters are now. And also some noble people are sitting here in the front. And the performers are in the middle.
Mommy,
You understand? This is different. The performers is acting in the middle. So some people see them from the side. Some people see them from the front. This is the first hand-drawn picture we have of a ballet. And it was a ballet at the court of the King of France. Catherine de Medici, who was Italian, where ballet originally started, takes it to France. And in order to entertain her guests, she does these performances, all right?
Okay.
This is the very first one. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I would like to have another caller.
Hello?
Yes, what is your name and what school do you represent?
Ballet Pines Middle School.
Yes, and what grade are you in?
7th.
Are you familiar with dancing?
With what?
With dancing?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen a ballet?
Yeah.
All right. Now let me show you. I have another picture over here. And this picture is of King Louis XIV. He also loved ballet. Now, the king and his noble people were the ones who were originally doing all the ballet dancing. Ballet was not something that was done by regular people. It was just done at the court. So they wore very fancy costumes. This is a very famous one where he's dressed like the sun. Can you see the symbol?
Yes.
Can you see it around his tummy? You see, I don't know if you can see it accurately. It is a sun, and you see the little spikes around his headpiece, sort of like imitating the rays of the sun. Back then, the themes were always based on something that took place in the sun or in the moons or something related to the Greek mythology about gods, goddesses, or shepherds. There were things that had to do with the interests of the time. You see the little shoes? He
Yeah.
also has that theme, and the socks and in the shoes, you see?
Yeah.
And the high heel shoes, okay? Well, the king danced between the ages of 15 and 30. But after he danced for about 15 years, he began to gain weight, and it became more difficult for him. He lost his youthful abilities, and he decided that it was time to hire professional dancers. And for the first time, we have in the 1600s that professional dancers start coming into the court to perform for the king and his friends. Now, the first group of dancers in the first school of dance are in the Royal Academy of Dance in France that went on to be known as the Paris Opera House. Right now, we're going to look at the chart over there, and if you want to look at the second, can you read it?
Virtuoso?
Virtuoso, yes, correct. The word is virtuoso, and it's the 1600s, like we say, Louis XIV. You can come back to me now. Thank you. And the virtuoso were very concerned on making the right step, the perfect step. They wanted to do leaps. They wanted to do turns in the air. They wanted to do fancy steps, very well-done steps. But if you think of the costumes that they were wearing at the time, those fancy steps were somewhat difficult, okay? I'll show you a picture of the costumes. Would you like to see?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. We now have a picture of the costume. Mind you, these were men wearing these costumes. You see them?
Yeah.
They were, what do you think they look like? Can you describe it?
Fancy?
Yes, yes, very fancy, very elaborate. You see a lot of jewelry?
Yeah.
And feathers?
Mm.
And canes and capes and all kinds of fancy things. Okay, these were mostly performed by men. We have at the bottom of the picture, if we could see the bottom, some that were parts of women. Now, back at the time, women really were not ballet dancers themselves. It was young teenage boys who did the part of women and the part of young girls. All the men did the parts of the men, but young fellows were the ones who were involved doing the parts of ladies. Ladies were not to be seen at the stage yet, this time, the 1600s. All right? Now, the steps got kind of cumbersome. I always get the feeling that they must have tripped once or twice during the performance because they were very, very bulky and uncomfortable to do the leaps and all the steps. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. During this time, and in this Paris Opera House, we have a young lady by the name of Madame La Fontaine. I will show you a picture of Madame La Fontaine. I did show you a picture of Madame La Fontaine. Yes, I'm sorry. She is the first one that dares to come in and bring in photographs and designs and things that were appropriate for lady. The first one, Madame La Fontaine. She was sort of like the first one to open the opportunity for women to dance. Now, a man by the name of Beauchamp at the Paris Royal Opera House developed the first 5 steps in ballet. If we take a look at this picture, Can we see it? We see the 5 basic steps. They are used to this day. When you start taking ballet lessons, these are the steps that you first learn with your feet. You see the way the feet are positioned?
Yeah.
Okay, I have it on camera now. This would be the first and the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Thank you. These are the positions that go back 300 years when they were originally invented. Now, we said this is a period where the virtuoso, the fancy step, the well-done step, they are not concerned with telling us a plot, with telling us a story, none of the like. Now, a woman by the name of Marie Camargo, and I'll show you her picture. If we could see Marie now, over here. Can you close up on Marie? Thank you. Marie Camargo thinks that costumes are very cumbersome, and she decides to shorten them. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you see now the stocking and the shoe?
Kind of.
Kind of. Yes, that's right. This is an invention that Marie Camargo comes up with because she did very pretty steps. She could hop up and down. She could do tiny little steps. She could do wonders with her feet, and decided that if she shortened the skirt, she could show a little more of that. All right, but she was the first one to come up with this invention of shortening the skirt. Thank you very much for calling. I would like to have another caller. Hello?
Hello,
Tell us your name and what school do you represent?
Patrick, and I represent Northern Middle,
What grade are you in?
7.
Okay. Marie Camargo, we were saying shorten the skirts, right? Were you listening?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happens? Because Marie Camargo shortened her skirts, I would like to show you this picture over here. She was now required to wear these long pantalettes. You see them?
Yes.
These long pantalettes over here that she had to now wear underneath her costume because they are being shown, you see? The skirt got short, now she has to wear these little things underneath. You see them?
Yes.
Okay. They were not required to wear this underneath the costume before, but since Marie Camargo chooses to shorten the skirts, she is now, for modesty purpose, she is now required to wear this underneath. And all the ladies that follow would have to wear this underneath the costume. Okay? All right. At the same time, in England, we have some dances developing, and one of them is the famous Marie Sal. I'll show you Marie Sal. There's something very peculiar about Marie Sal. She rebels altogether against the cumbersome costumes, and she decides instead to wear tunics, loose, flowing kinds of costumes that would not be so heavy that she could do more steps. She could get fancy with her dancing. You see her robe is more loose, more flowy. It's not as bulky, sticking out as the other one. See the costume? Can you see how it's much loose than the other one?
Yes.
Yes. That is Marie Sal in England. She also gets rid of the mask. Up to that time, the performers at the theater would wear a mask. If you had to do a happy role, you would wear a happy mask. If you had to do a sad, you would wear a sad mask. And Marie Sal thinks that the performer can wear her, instead of the mask, can do her own expressions. And she's the first one to show up for a performance without the mask.
Why?
Because she felt she could make different faces. If you wear a mask, that's a good question. I like that. If you wear a mask and you're wearing a happy mask on stage, you're going to be happy all the time. If you wear a sad mask, you're going to be sad all the time. And she could not have changes of moods while she was performing. So she comes up with the idea of saying, let us add to the ballet, besides the steps, the facial expression. She could now change from one mood to the other while she is on the stage, and people would get more involved and would get more feeling out of the performance. I like that. That is a very good question. It brings us to the next step in ballet. If we look at the chart over here, would you please read number 3?
Dramatic.
Dramatic, that is right. It's now the 1700s. And what do you think dramatic is?
Like very powerful, sad. Emphasis.
Yes, all right. Yes, you are right. A man by the name of Navarre, we can come back now, and I'll show you a picture of Navarre. Can we look at Navarre? All right. A man by the name of Navarre, he wanted to use the ballet stories that could express emotion. He said that the ballet should show the feeling of the soul through the eyes, okay? And instead of just making steps that to him were like an alphabet, he said that they could be put into words, and these words could tell a story. The steps would be like the alphabet, and together the steps will tell a story. And this is Navarre. Do you see him?
Yes.
Yes. And he decided that he had to be with feeling. Emotions had to be involved. The audience should cry or should be happy and applaud. You understand? So that is what is called dramatic. He's going to go on and put a lot of passion and a lot of feeling into the stories told in ballet. All right?
Did he take that from the opera?
Yes, because at the same time that ballet is growing, I like the question. That is very good. Opera is growing too. Yes, you are right. Yes. A lot of theater is growing, music is growing, and they're all going through the transition. Yes, you are right. He took it probably from there. Thank you for participating. Can I have another caller?
Thank you.
Hello, what's your name? What school do you represent?
My name is Daniel Platz, and I represent Ventry Elementary School.
What grade are you in?
4th.
All right. Now, we have a very famous story with all this emotion and all this feeling that is taking place in the dramatic time, and it's called La Fille Malgardée. The reason why I'm talking about La Fille Malgardée is because I brought you a picture of it so you can see it. It is 300 years old, and it is still performed. La Fille Malgardée is still a very popular ballet. We have it here in the picture. It is a story about a girl and her mom, and it's the girl who gets into mischief and trouble. And it was a perfect example of the dramatic period. And it was so well liked that we still do it in the United States. You see it in many dance companies, and you also see it in Europe. Do you see the girl?
Yes.
And do you see the costume?
Yes.
What do you think this is, a rich girl or a peasant girl?
She looks like a peasant girl.
Yes, the stories begin to change, and now we see more stories about regular people, country people, working people, not just necessarily make-believe things. All right? Do you see the mom?
Yes.
What does it look like the mom is doing?
It looks like she's scolding her child.
Indeed, yes. She does get into trouble throughout the story. Do you think the girl is crying?
Yes, because she's wiping her eyes.
That's right. Would she be wearing a mask? Do you think that people would have been able to understand that she's crying?
I don't think so.
Do you understand now why we got rid of the mask?
Yes.
And now the dramatic period, you get to see the faces the performers can do on stage.
Has the story changed since 300 years ago?
No, we still have the original story. Yes, it's about a girl, and she gets into trouble. Eventually, she gets married. But the mom wanted her to marry the rich guy, and she is in love with a guy who is not rich. Well, as the story develops, a big storm comes, and the wind just carries away the rich guy, and she ends up marrying the one she's in love with, although he was not rich. But she goes on to be happily ever after. Okay, thank you for calling. All right? Okay, I would like to get another caller. Hello, what's your name or what school do you represent?
Hello, my name is Julia Robledo, and I represent the school of Charles R. Hadley.
Yes, and what grade are you in?
4th.
Okay, would you like to go to the chart and read the next period in ballet that we have?
Okay.
Read number 4.
Romantic.
Romantic. Yes, it's the 1800s now. Okay, please come back. What do you think takes place during the romantic period?
I think it explains like love to someone else, like romance.
That's right. Stories about fairies happened during the Romantic period, and spirits, and make-believe little winged things like dragonflies and so forth. Now, all these little winged creatures flew about the air. They were not little creatures that walk on the ground. And in order to create this illusion of the flowing, flying type of creatures, the ballerinas of the time decided to go on their feet, all right? And they went on to what it was called the point shoe. Now they are dancing at the tippy tops of their feet. And they have come up with a whole new style of dancing. They became very famous. They dance on their feet. The most famous one of all I would like to show you, it's called Marie Taglioni. And Marie Taglioni, if you could see a picture of Marie Taglioni over here, she is credited with being the first one to dance with the point shoe. If we could see the point shoe over here in this little corner. Yes, you see the little shoe. It's hardly perceivable. It looks like she's barefooted. Actually, in reality, she's to be on a point shoe. We have other pictures of Marie Taglioni over here on this other side of the screen. Can we see this other one? Can you see it? Yes, here is Marie Taglioni. You could see the little shoe over there, no longer the shoe with a high heel. Yes, that's a much better picture of the ballet shoe that she is famed for creating. And you see how it's pointed now?
Yeah.
Okay. She is credited with now dancing on the tip of her shoes, all right? And women took the leading role after that. People find it very interesting to dance in this fashion. This is the way ballet continues to be done. Do you take ballet classes yourself?
No.
No? Have you ever seen a ballet?
Yeah.
Do you remember what the story was about?
About a prince that met like a princess, and then she turns into a goose.
Oh, that is probably Swan Lake.
Yeah.
Yes, was that the one?
Mhm.
Yes. Do you remember the dancers dancing on their tippy toes?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. I have a little clip I would like to show you of one of the ballets that Marie Taglioni did. It's a little video. Do you think it's possible we could see it now? Did you enjoy that? Hello? Yes, can I have another caller? Hello? What's your name? What school do you represent?
Randall Chad Levy, and I represent North Grade Elementary, and I'm in grade 4.
Were you watching the clip?
Yes.
Did you notice the dancer on the point of the toes?
Yes.
Yes. Did you notice the costume?
Yes.
Okay. It was supposed to represent which character?
Which one? The male or the female?
The female.
Like a princess almost.
Did you notice the little wings in the back?
No.
Well, she was wearing a pair of tiny little wings, both of the girls that you saw there, because it was supposed to be like a fairy, okay?
Okay.
Yes. What about the ballet did you like the most? That little clip that you see.
I kind of liked it all.
You kind of like it all. Okay, that ends the Romantic period. That was the example of the Romantic period. And if we recap quickly, we took a look originally at the Renaissance. That was the first period. Then we look at the virtuoso. They were concerned about the steps. Then we look at the dramatic. They took off the mask and they were very interested in the emotions of the ballet. And the fourth one that we look at was the romantic. Okay, unfortunately, we couldn't look at the Italians and the Russians. We were very interested in what went on up to there. But I would love to come back and discuss it with you at a future time. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much. And please continue watching Dial a Teacher. Thank you.